Curtis and Courtney in for Greg, Wiggy, Shime. They're all enjoying their little summer breaks. But joining us right now, friend of the program, one of my favorite people to ever call or join us, Devin McCourty, who's done a great job this offseason. You're popping up everywhere, Devin.
I'm just trying to stay busy. I don't know about everywhere, but it's been a good summer.
It has been. And happy belated birthday, your birthday yesterday.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is my birthday gift, right? You invited me on the show today?
Yes, I did the old slide into the DM. Happy birthday. Miss you. By the way, come on the show tomorrow.
Right. What are the odds that his brother has the same birthday?
Yeah, it's shocking, really. But you and Jason...
My little son is still trying to understand that.
Well, you and Jason did a great job during the first preseason game. I thought that you guys made a lot of good points. Always interesting to hear from former players talk about preseason because... as fans, as media, people jump to conclusions, whether they're good or bad. You guys stayed pretty level-headed the entire time. What was your biggest takeaway about this current Patriots team?
Yeah, I think that's one of the main points. You know, going into the game, I think everybody as a fan, coaches, they all have a certain expectation going in of how you expect, you know, individual guys to play, units to play, as a team to play. But then you also want to be reminded, you know, Washington didn't play any starters. So you want to try to combine the joint practice, what happened there, what you saw good and bad, but also how some of the young guys stepped up and played, because there is a difference from being in practice and then the lights being on and having to perform in the game. So I thought it was cool to see the energy they played with, to see the discipline. You know, even at halftime, Coach Vrabel talked about, hey, 2 penalties got offset, but you know, like we can't have penalties. And then they had, I think, 2 penalties in the second half. And I saw yesterday at the joint practice, there was a couple penalties. So I think all of it kind of goes in one pot. You can't just look at a game or just look at 1 or 2 practices. You got to start to try to put it all together and then form an opinion.
Yeah, Devin, I thought you and Jason were great as well. And my biggest takeaway from the game, because obviously you can't break down individual plays, and, you know, it's the Washington wasn't playing their starters most of the game anyway. It just seems smooth, you know, and not ripping one season or another. But the last several years, there's been, you know, it feels like, you know, constant pre-snap penalties, too many men on the field, formation, whatever. Just watching the game without really breaking down individual plays, it felt like the operation was sort of back to what the Patriot fan had expected.
Yeah, and that was something I asked Coach Vrabel before the game in the production meeting, because, you know, one of the things that we sometimes forget is, like, when a staff comes together, that first preseason game is their first preseason game. So some of the things you harp on practice or what you have to do, kind of you see that stuff, like, showcased in the first preseason game, because you're trying to get so much of the X's and O's done that you don't always kind of get the small things. And I thought the staff, I think partly because a lot of them have worked with Vrabel in the past, some on the same staff in Tennessee, I thought you saw some symmetry between all of them of kind of the things that they felt were important in the game. And I agree with you. A lot of the kind of little smooth things that if you don't do, crush an operation, crush a drive, you didn't see as much as that. And I think that goes to what they've probably been working on all training camp with some of the discipline and things that they kind of harp on that needs to be done. It actually showed in that first game. And I thought the good thing was it showed from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, where the guys who were the first ones in did it, but also, you know, you get to the second and third string guys who are fighting to make the team. They did those little things as well, which is a good sign for a football team.
We had Vrabel on Monday, and he makes it very clear his feelings on ball security and how important that is for him and for the team. Drake May had a tough moment in the preseason game. Overall, though, did you enjoy what you saw out of him? You didn't see a ton, but... Yeah,
I thought he looked like a player that understands what to do and what not to do. And, you know, I think a part of being a good player, and I think he has a little bit of that game changer to him where he can run a little bit, he can stay alive. Like, you're going to get some of those mistakes. As a coach, I think you understand you're going to get them, but you don't set the standard being like, hey, you can make 2 or 3 of those. Like, no. You rip them, you go at them. I'm sure in that meeting on whatever day that was, Friday or whatever after the game, I'm sure they got in that team meeting room. And, you know, I think the culture Vrabel grew up in, I'm sure he went at, you know, Drake a little bit in front of the whole team to let them know this isn't something that we approve of. This is not how we want to play. But I also think there's a side of Drake May that he's going to make some plays that a lot of us probably think are dead or you can't make, and he's going to be able to make them. So he has to learn how you tiptoe that line. And I think practice and preseason a little bit, you get to test how much you can do, what you can't do. I think the biggest thing is I remember talking to Drake May last year about it. She said he has to learn from everything, a mistake, a good play. And as long as he does that, I think he'll be okay.
It's interesting this year, Devin, that they've moved on from basically all the captains of the old team. As someone that was a captain, I think, almost for your entire career with the Patriots, how do you entered in a spot where you obviously had a bunch of leaders already on the team, and then you were the one to be able to carry that torch. How do you restart? How do you begin to establish a culture, and how do you find those leaders during camp?
Yeah, it's so foreign to, like, the New England region because Coach Belichick was there for 24 years. But I get the unique perspective of, like, I'm, my brother, being super close with him. And the first thing he said to me, he was just like, that's what happens. When you get new coaches, that new culture is not built on the culture of the past. It's built on that coach and who he deems as leaders. So even though you have guys that, for the Patriots have been leaders and guys that carried the torch, that new coach that comes in might not necessarily feel that and feels like they have to go get their player. So I think a part of that new culture is guys like Robert Spillane, who started in Tennessee, guys like Harold Landry, guys that Coach Vrabel have identified as culture builders, guys like Milton Williams, getting to know him in free agency and you bring him in on a big contract, guys like Carlton Davis, who played with Terrell Williams in Detroit. Like, you start to use your coaching staff and your knowledge to put together a team that you think has the culture or the standards or morals that you carry as a coach, and you bring them in to establish that new culture in whatever area. And I think Vrabel has identified those guys, and that's what this team is built up of. And that doesn't mean guys like Jabril Peppers and Drake May and guys that were already there the year, but it doesn't mean that they won't come in and establish and still be a part of that. Sure, they will, but guys like Will Campbell and Travion Henderson, those are going to be the guys that during the draft process, they say, all right, in 5 years, we're going to be looking for these guys to be our captains and our leaders, and they're starting to build that way.
Devin, were you surprised by the coach's decision to not play Steph Diggs on Friday?
No, I think with Diggs, and we talked to him after practice, and he was kind of energetic still after the joint practice with Washington. I told him I could do everything. I'm 100%. He said, but they told him, hey, we need you in the games. We need you during those big moments. We want you to be healthy. You've done this for a while now. You've been in preseason games. You've been in practices. We just want to be smart. And I think that makes a lot of sense as a guy who got to play 13 years. I think there is an advantage to trying to map out a plan for you to be your best in those moments. And he's out there. He's going to be playing, but coming off an ACL. And even though he looks amazing, I give them credit to say, hey, let's not take this too far. Let's not get, this new receiver who we really like and just throw him out there just so we can watch him in preseason. Let's kind of be smart and take it one day at a time. And I think it will pay off for them. He's playing football. They're just not throwing him out there like he's 25. They're actually thinking about, the miles that he's put on his body and how to best get the best out of Diggs later in the season.
Just curious for you, Devin, what do you think is a successful year for year one Vrabel here? And, I know you're not too into the Vegas stuff, but over-under is 8.5. What do you think this season would be if it's a success? What do they have to accomplish?
This is the hardest question because even last year I remember, like, when you win 4 games the year before, 8 and 9 wins, like, that to me is amazing. Like, that's past success. That's above average. That's above, that's like a really great season for them. So to me, it's how they perform. It's how they look. If you want to put any thought into Vegas, then it is. It's 8 wins would be a successful season. But I think from my outlook, as I look at the rest of the division, I look at them on a high note to finish second in the division behind Buffalo and possibly compete with Buffalo during the end of the season to be like, hey, we're fighting, we're still alive. And if I think ultimately Buffalo becomes the division leader again, but I look for them to be in that number 2 spot. So does that leave you at 9 wins or 10 wins with a chance to possibly make the playoffs? I do. I think they have enough talent this year that will get them in that conversation because that to me is the biggest difference. Like, once you infuse your team with a ton of talent, it gives you a chance. It makes people believe, and that's what they look like right now.
Ramondre has been absent from practice since Friday's game. He played okay on Friday. Is it just that Travion Henderson has completely taken over? It seems weird that he hasn't been seen practicing at all since Friday.
Training camp's always tough because there's no injury report. Usually, from my time, if a guy's not practicing at all, it's because he's hurt. Like there's something going on or there's a personal thing. Like that usually, to me, speaks more than anything else. Because like even as well as Travion Henderson played in the game and the way he's been practicing, there's still like you're still going to get guys out there. You're still going to get Ramondre. Like no matter how the depth chart plays out, once the season comes, guys still need to be out there playing. So I would imagine it's some kind of injury and the team doesn't have to report it or say what the player's dealing with, very similar to Carlton Davis. But, like, if there's a chance he could be out there, to me, he would be out there. So I would guess there's some kind of injury or something else going on.
Devin, a couple quick ones on the statue. What grade do you give the Tom Brady statue that was just revealed on Friday night?
Man, that statue was like a 9 out of 10 because I wanted to go make fun of the statue during the preseason game, going out there. That was going to be like my opener. The statue was pretty good though. I cannot knock that.
And big talking point here has been, is there going to be a Belichick one that joins Brady? Do you think there will, and do you think it'll be right next to Tom? And when can we get the Belichick one?
Man, I sure hope so. I mean, again, I'm obviously biased, I think, from playing there, and I think I'm playing on defense and some of the thought process that went into some game plans and even overall as a team. Like that success that the Patriots had, you can't take away. And I know people are going to be like post-Tom this and pre, but what we were able to accomplish in my time there and what those guys did before me and, obviously the time I get to spend with Rodney Harrison now and him talking about his time with Bill and the consistency or the same phrases and different things that we heard from a game plan standpoint, I think it would be ridiculous that you wouldn't put a statue up of him. When that comes, I don't know, you kind of lean on like time heals whatever happened towards the end of everything between the Crafts and Coach Belichick, but I just think it makes a lot of sense for him to have a statue, whether it's next to Tom, whether it's on another side of the stadium, whatever. I think that organization is built on, football-wise, is built on what those two men gave to the team year after year. And, we're talking about 2 decades of excellence. That to me deserves a statue.
Well, I know you're a Jersey guy now, but where can we see you this upcoming season? What are your plans?
Well, I'll be in Minnesota, going over there Friday, and then the next time I'll be on NBC to start the season Thursday night, Philly and Dallas, which should be awesome. But still, Sunday night football pregame show, Football Night in America, 7:00. I'll be there, and then I also will be calling, some Thursday and Monday night games for Westwood One Radio, just to be back in that atmosphere calling games. I'll actually be calling New England's Thursday night and Monday night game against the Jets and the Giants.
Awesome.
On Westwood One.
All right. Well, maybe you should give some pointers to Tom about how to call a game. You guys are competing now with that.
No, we're not competing. He's on the extreme varsity high top national ranked teams. I'm still on JV of like the local town team that's not that good. That's the difference between radio and the A team.
All right. Well, Devin, thanks so much for calling. Happy birthday again. We miss you here, so we hope to see you soon.
Appreciate it.
There we go.
There you go. There's Devin McCourty. He's the best.
He's one of the very few people who oftentimes, and it's nothing negative about anyone in particular, you have a guest and they're just not really listening. They hear the last thing you say and they react to it. And the speed with which he replies to questions he hasn't been prompted for, to me, is such a skill. Like, he's on a phone, it's early morning, he's got a bunch of kids, it's the middle of August, and it's like he listens and he gives a thoughtful answer. He's really talented at that.
He is. He's very, very good, and he also never asks for anything. Like, no. I said, happy birthday, want to come on the show tomorrow? He said, sure. Can I call in? I said, yes, here's the number, what time? It was just, he never asks for anything. He's always up to come and talk to us. So thank you so much to Devin McCourty.
Great job, Courtney.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.